What was meant to be a routine interview quickly turned into something far more explosive. Roger Federer made an unintentional admission about Eala that struck the tennis world like a thunderbolt, something no one saw coming. The most celebrated athlete in the sport's history appeared to reveal more than he ever intended. And in one unguarded moment, the silence surrounding a previously unknown connection was shattered. What began as a calm, reflective sit-down with a respected Swiss sports network focused on his legendary career, modern tennis, and his retirement legacy suddenly transformed into one of the season's most shocking revelations. Now, the entire tennis community is demanding answers, wondering what Federer may have been concealing about the rising Filipino star and how this unexpected confession could impact the competition. There was nothing to suggest the conversation would drift into dangerous territory. Federer arrived relaxed and almost carefree as the interviewer guided him through familiar ground Wimbledon triumphs, epic battles with Nadal and the emotional farewell at the Lever Cup. It was standard reflection for a champion who had already stepped away from professional competition. The atmosphere felt warm, safe, and comfortably nostalgic. Then came the pivot. Roger, you've always had an eye for emerging talent. Who excites you in women's tennis right now? It sounded like a harmless question, one he had answered countless times with Polish diplomacy, praising established names such as Swiatek, Goff, or Sabalenka without stirring controversy. But this time something shifted. Federer hesitated, not the calculated pause of a seasoned ambassador, but a real conflicted silence, as if he were weighing whether to open a door he had intentionally kept closed. His eyes narrowed slightly, his jaw tightened, and anyone paying close attention could sense the internal debate unfolding in real time. "There's someone," he began before catching himself. The interviewer leaned forward instantly, sensing the change in tone. This was no longer rehearsed territory. "There's a player I've been following for almost 3 years, Federer continued. "Stepping into unexpected ground for almost 3 years now," he continued. "Someone most people aren't talking about yet. Someone I've been involved with behind the scenes." The temperature in the room seemed to shift instantly. "Eala," he said at last, allowing the name to hang in the air like a confession in open court. He admitted he had been mentoring her privately, offering technical advice, studying her matches, even connecting her with former coaches from his inner circle support. He claimed he hadn't extended to anyone outside his own academy. The interviewer's astonishment was unmistakable. This was not public knowledge. No tennis outlet had reported any connection between the Swiss legend and the rising Filipino star. There had been no visible training sessions, no social media hints, no leaks. Federer seemed to realize in real time what he had revealed. His expression flickered with something between regret and relief. The secret was out and there was no pulling it back. "I probably shouldn't have said that," he added with a nervous chuckle that failed to soften the magnitude of the admission. But it was already too late. Within minutes, the clip was circulating across every major tennis platform. Social media erupted, debates ignited, and journalists scrambled to confirm the details. Eala's name, once familiar mainly to devoted followers of junior and lower-tier tournaments, suddenly dominated global sports headlines. Why would Roger Federer, one of the most revered figures in tennis history, quietly invest his time and expertise in Alex? What potential had he seen that others overlooked? And why had the mentorship remained hidden for so long? That single accidental confession cracked open a mystery that threatened to reshape perceptions of both Federer's retirement pursuits and Eala's meteoric rise. What made the revelation even more startling was that Federer's involvement with Eala was not a coincidence or a passing interest in raw talent. According to him, the connection ran much deeper, and when the full story surfaced, it had the potential to challenge everything fans believed about the sport's most respected icon. The interview didn't end with his initial confession. If anything, having already crossed the point of no return, Federer chose to continue, pulling back the curtain on a mentorship that had remained entirely hidden. He shared that he first noticed Eala during the 2022 US Open Juniors, his tone shifting from hesitant to protective. It wasn't just her talent that stood out, he explained, but her mental architecture, the way she constructed points with calculation and patience, striking decisively when opportunities appeared. It reminded him of players from another era. He described reaching out through mutual contacts and offering technical feedback after studying her match footage. What began as occasional observations gradually developed into regular video analysis sessions where he would break down her serve mechanics, footwork, and decision-making under pressure with the same forensic precision he once applied to his own game. At one point, he revealed that he even connected her with Pierre Paganini, the longtime fitness coach who helped extend his career deep into his late 30s. Hearing Roger Federer openly discuss guiding Eala at such a detailed level only intensified the shockwaves already rippling through the tennis world. He went even further, revealing that he had introduced her to Sever, the coach who had stood beside him for 2 decades and had quietly arranged for her to train at his academy in Switzerland for 2 weeks the previous summer, completely off the record. No media, no announcements. The disclosures kept coming. Private court sessions, nutrition planning, mental performance guidance, even assistance navigating equipment sponsorships. It became clear that Roger Federer had essentially built a discrete development system around Alex, leveraging his entire professional network to fast-track her growth while keeping the arrangement entirely hidden. Why her? The interviewer finally asked, giving voice to the question echoing across millions of viewers' minds. Federer's answer was direct and deeply personal because everyone overlooks her. She comes from a nation without deep tennis infrastructure, without the funding and systemic support many prospects from established tennis powers take for granted. She's fighting against a structure designed to favor players from traditional strongholds. He said he saw something of his younger self in that struggle. Not the Polish champion the world remembers, but the uncertain teenager who needed belief before results justified it. The comparison immediately stirred debate. Federer, after all, grew up in Switzerland with access to high-level coaching and federation, backing hardly the same pathway as a Filipino athlete pushing for global recognition from a country with limited tennis tradition. Critics labeled the analogy tone-deaf, but Federer stood firm, insisting that talent alone never guaranteed success in his career. He credited early believers who supported him before he became a proven winner and argued that Eala deserved that same faith. Then came the boldest statement of all. Within 3 years, she would break into the top 30. Within 5, she would reach at least a Grand Slam quarterfinal. He was staking his reputation on that prediction. For a figure widely regarded as one of the greatest in tennis history, those words carried immense weight. His endorsement could open doors, wildcards, sponsorship deals, media exposure, but it also placed an enormous spotlight on Eala. Expectations that had never existed before now loomed heavily over every match she would play. Each victory would be framed as validation, each loss as doubt. Almost instantly, social media fractured into opposing camps, some applauding Federer's generosity and vision, others questioning whether his judgment had finally overreached. Supporters praised Federer for using his influence to uplift an overlooked talent, while detractors argued he had placed crushing, unrealistic pressure on a young player still shaping her identity. Some insiders wondered whether such a powerful endorsement might unintentionally disrupt her development by dragging her into a spotlight she wasn't ready to carry. Agents quietly questioned how a mentorship of this scale had remained hidden for so long. Rival players speculated whether similar support had been offered to others or whether Eala was uniquely compelling. And at the center of the storm stood herself, realizing that her once private journey had suddenly become public property. Federer's confession ignited one unavoidable question. Who exactly is Eala? And what did this teenager from Manila possess that convinced tennis royalty to stake his legacy on her future? Born in May 2005 in Quezon City, Philippines, Eala did not emerge from a tennis dynasty or a system built to produce champions. In a country where basketball commands the cultural spotlight and resources, tennis has long existed on the margins, often limited to families with access to private clubs and international exposure. The Philippines had never produced a modern-era Grand Slam singles champion or a consistent top 50 player. The pathway simply wasn't established yet. Eala began cutting through junior competition with startling authority. At 14, she relocated to Spain to train at the prestigious Rafa Nadal Academy, a decision that required immense financial and personal sacrifice from her family. Her parents, both former athletes, recognized that her development demanded opportunities beyond what was available at home. The gamble was enormous. The statistical odds of professional success razor thin. She justified that belief quickly. In 2020, she won the girls' doubles title at the Australian Open. In 2021, she added the girls' doubles crown at the French Open. Then in 2022, she captured the girls' singles championship at the US Open, becoming the first Filipino to achieve that milestone. These weren't isolated breakthroughs or fortunate runs. They were decisive, structured victories that signaled a player with both talent and tactical maturity. Suddenly, Federer's bold prediction didn't feel like blind sentiment. It felt like a calculated investment in a competitor whose improbable rise had already begun rewriting expectations.